Nicodemus here. Today's episode, we wanted to start off by addressing the YouTube page and reconciling the version of Jesus in the Bible and the version of Jesus in A Course in Miracles.
Yeah, it's a great question, and, I'd like to share actually some of my story, my own personal story about it. As, raised as a Christian, my mom was a born again Christian. We started in the Catholic church and then went to a Baptist church, and I grew up, uh, CCD, Sunday school, around the Bible. I mean, I was reading it as a kid, and then I would say really early on, I felt like this personal connection with Jesus, and my mom was really deeply into it, holding Bible studies, and it got very like, a lot of the questions I feel like I had, the answers I didn't really, and I was like, "I don't know about that. What about this? And wait, how do you reconcile this?" And it led me into other teachings personally, into the East. And although it's interesting, in India, there's pictures of Jesus everywhere. He's, like, held in such a high regard there. Now, is it do they look at him as, like, the Messiah? Well, they look at him as the embodiment of God, like the other, you know, gods in their religion, It's really interesting because I feel like I went all over the world, studying different things, shamanism, all this different anything I could get my hands on. And then when I came to Course in Miracles, I feel like I almost came full circle. Now, it's a I understand it's a very it's a fascinating proposition. For some people, they might not like the proposition at all, but the proposition is that Jesus was speaking to Helen Schuckman, and not like the body of Jesus, you know, 2,000 years ago, but the mind of Christ that Jesus, the man, woke up to and perfected it so perfectly. And in a lot of ways, like when I studied the course, it bridges a lot of stuff that Christianity says and alludes to, but just from in my experience, a deep perspective. And it's not like one or the other. And how it changed for me, and I think how this channel comes around, and our, our vision for the channel is when I got this book, The Circle of Atonement, Course in Miracles. And this book is very controversial in the Course in Miracles community. It's quite ironic. But they ended up getting Helen's original notes, and what they put together is really something. It's pretty remarkable. And why I started to see it differently is because when they would put some of Helen's original notes, they would put a Bible passage on the bottom. And that got me to start to think, it's like, wow, they're comparing and bridging the Bible Jesus, Course in Miracles Jesus. Now, if that's difficult for you, I get it. If you're a Christian, you're like, this is the only way. I would like to just throw out a couple things to think about. And I'm not a Bible scholar. I know a lot of the stories. I watch The Chosen. I love it. Nick and I read Nicodemus. We read the Bible together. He'll throw a Bible quote. So I love it. It's not like, and I think where Jesus was teaching in the Bible, I mean, if you look at the top two things he was teaching, like surrender to God fully, no other idols before God. And number two, love your brother as yourself. That's what that's a lot. I mean, that's Course in Miracles as well. So I've had this thought, I'm like, if Jesus could be crucified, die on the cross, and rise on the third day, the resurrection. And any Christian, I mean, that's obviously part of the Christian belief system. So it's in the Bible. I mean, if he could do that, why can't he still talk to all of our minds? Really? Like, why couldn't Helen Schuckman channel Jesus? Because, and what if Jesus has been talking to everybody the whole time? It's just that in rare cases, it might get expressed really clearly through someone. But even Helen, she struggled with the material. So, I mean, she was a militant atheist. So it's not even like the things that were coming through her, it was clearly not her own. Now, I get that it can be really challenging because it might challenge the way we see, you know, the Bible or our faith. But our faith is meant to be challenged because we're constantly meant to, like, what God really is. It's pretty much impossible to wrap our minds around it. I mean, when I say pretty much, it's because we could still get glimpses of it. But our minds that operate in duality, how are they gonna understand eternity? We can only do it through symbols. So Jesus, I'll give you another example of this that was part of my journey because in India, especially like my teacher's teacher, if you've ever read and studied some of the teachings from India, he spoke in Marathi. The language was Marathi, and my teacher spoke Marathi and English fluently. So that the his teacher who spoke only Marathi had about 3 different translators there at different times, and they all started writing their own books. I've read all of them, right? The different, translators, and they all sound different, even though the teacher's the same. Like, I've had direct firsthand experience of it. My teacher, I thought, was probably the clearest because of his demand of both English and Marathi. But everyone else, like, you could see where how they would interpret it. The message, it would go through their own lens. That's not bad. It's just the way that it is. So why would we not think that even some of the teachings of the Bible, that could also happen? That can happen that way. That's why you can almost even see, like, different things in, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, like, all the Gospels, so or a slightly different perspective. Now, I think what Jesus is teaching is and the truth of it can be found in both. And that's really the inspiration for the channel. And if that's not for you, we totally get it as well. It's not I've introduced A Course in Miracles to a lot of people. It's not the easiest study for people. They have to really it takes a lot of discipline and I entertain it as though it really is Jesus talking to me. And I think if you read it from that perspective and they go back to the Bible, it'll be even there might be a richness and a depth that wouldn't be available. Like I have students in my class that teach Bible studies and they come to the class to learn what Jesus is teaching from a different perspective that enriches what they're doing with the Bible. So that would be my invitation for you and really for all of us.